All right, so Michael, what do you do to warm up before you practice or a gig or something like that?
It sounds kind of it sounds kind of obvious, but like I've always been a big fan of being as efficient as possible, and so I'll sit there and I will just like shed, like, not so much like these kind of, like, a lot of people do these sort of like these kind of like a musical kind of chromatic things. I've never really been as hip to that stuff as I have been just playing like really like pattern kind of stuff. Like I'll play like a whole tone scale and then I'll come down and just try to get as my hands moving as best as they can, trying to get my fingers to talk to each other. Like, but like I'm also big on like the Diorio kind of stuff, like really intervallic stuff, where like you're moving through like one string at a time and trying to make that into something that you could actually use, when you're like on a, when you're playing, not just something that you warm up with. I always feel like it's better to play like something that you're going to be playing when you're playing, not just something that you do like separate from when you separate from when you're warming up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I try to be as efficient about that as possible.
Yeah.
What about you?
I for years and years I did the
Yeah.
to the point where it's,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can just. And to be fair, man, to be fair, that getting your right hand to talk to your left hand and to get to get your technique happening like that, that's worth it.
yeah. But I stopped at some point, and then you do scale and stuff like that. But then because I was in a car accident a long time ago, and my shoulder's constantly basically inflamed, and that causes problems in my hands. And like I don't have like I'll be able to, I can play obviously, but I try not to overdo it with things because it can be a problem for me. Like I don't want to get carpal tunnel tendonitis or some sort of repetitive strain because my shoulder's messed up. Because my hands are inflamed. So when I was in my undergrad at the University of Redlands back in Southern California, we had this clinician come in that just talked about taking care of your muscles, and it was incredible. And she talked about warming up literally means, my dad would say actually because he doesn't like the word literally. Warming up actually means, there you go, Dad. It actually means making sure your muscles are warm. And how do you do that? Blood flow. And so everything you're doing does that. But you could also just stretch.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I got really into this last couple of years. Really ever since then, I do it religiously. We're like, I do these sets of stretches, these kind of thing on both sides, and then this thing on both sides, and I do this on both sides, and then individual fingers, and like that works. And it takes me about probably about 10 to 15 minutes to warm up fully, and I take my time with that. I'm not trying to rush through it. I'm not trying to hurt myself. I just want to make sure my muscles are warm. And one thing I definitely recommend everyone check out is there's an instructional video called Rock Discipline that John Petrucci put out back when everyone was doing those VHS tapes back in the day. You can get it on DVD, and I actually had a book of it. Like someone transcribed the video into a book, and I bought the book because this was back when the VHS it was $50 and the book was $20. So I was like, get the book. And it goes through his warm up exercise, and I actually still use that warm up exercise every single day. There was all those stretches. And keep in mind, I'm not qualified to talk about this. This is just what works for me. I am not someone that actually knows anything about anything. I just know this works for me. So I do those stretches, make sure I'm get a little number up, and then I do these things he does. And you don't have to pick them, but I like to pick them because I think they sound cool. But basically, you're taking on the 10th fret here. You go one finger per fret, and you got so on the fourth string you got your first finger, and then your pinky is on the 13th fret on the first string, and they're kind of going 10, 11, 12, 13 like that. And you go. And then you invert your second and third finger. And then you invert your first and fourth finger. And then you invert your second and third finger again. You do that on every string set. And I'm rushing through it just because of time's sake. You do it on every string set. Then you get to the bottom, lower one finger. And then do the same exercises like that all the way through. And you get to the top again, lower the next finger. So now you have a gap between your second and third. Same exercise. And then get to the bottom again, lower your third finger. Now you have a gap between here and there.
Wow.
And do that. And then there's more to it. There's this picking thing. You gotta go through this nonsense exercise and then double picking and then there's some other stuff. But that stretching exercise works really well for me. And I use all of that. I use it every single day still because when I'm done with that, my hands are ready to go. They're warm. The blood's flowing.
You're moving, yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers are moving. Here's a Joe Pass thing that I got it from someone on like YouTube, I think. But he calls it like the infinity warm up, and basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through like this. You're gonna go through all 12 keys around the circle of fourths, and it's gonna go like C7, F7, B flat 7, E flat 7, A flat 7, so on all the way around. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go third, fifth, root, seventh, and then you're gonna go to the next key, and then now you're in the key of F. Third, fifth, root, seventh. Third, fifth, root, seventh. Third, fifth, root, seventh. And where am I? And you can go, and this is a really nice. And so when I'm sharing that with people, I'll tell my students like like as you go through it, don't play it the same way the same way every time. So like instead of going or maybe and try to make your way around the guitar in a way that kind of utilizes the whole neck and like lets you kind of not only like warm up and get your fingers moving, but also get your brain moving. Kind of see like and what that does too. It's great because it's like again, it's efficient. You can hear like 1 3 5 flat 7. Sorry, 1 3 5 1 flat 7, and then you hear like how that resolves to the third of the next chord. That's a really nice thing to be able to internalize, and you kind of hear that as you make your way around the wheel, and it's a really nice thing to do. It sounds good, which is awesome, and it also works. That's a really good one too.